an online event that is a variety show. We're calling it the End Alzheimer's New Mexico Variety Show. It's going to be on Thursday, September 24th in the evening at 7 p.m. And there's going to be comedy, music, dance performance, and I'm having all sorts of fun going around and filming, social distancing, of course, but filming flamenco dancers and hula dancers and comedians, and just it's going to be a really special thing. I hope that a lot of people are able to log on. We can raise some awareness around Alzheimer's and dementia, how it affects New Mexicans in particular, and
All right. Welcome to MJ Radio. I'm MelindaJoy Patterson, your host. Every time you tune in, you'll hear interesting conversations with interesting people about interesting things. Today, I have with me my friend Ken Hendricks, who's been on my show before in the MelindaJoy Hour iteration on the Real Radio. And we've talked about his work with Home Instead. I was looking at your T-shirt, Ken, and I was going to say with Stay Home Instead.
double meaning.
That's what I get for looking in the middle of talking. But anyway, welcome. It's so much fun always to talk with you,
Well,
and it's even more fun now because we get to see each other, right?
Yeah, very cool. Well, we did see each other when we were in the radio studio before COVID.
That's true.
But the
That's
audience,
true.
the
That's
audience
true.
can
Did you
actually
come
see us now.
both times? Were you in the studio both times?
You know what? Actually, you're right. The second time I was just on the phone.
So we have really evolved in this. It's sort of together. It's really been sort of a very informal collaboration. You were on my show when I was in the radio studio, and we were in the studio together the first time when we talked about how you came to do the work that you do. And then the next time we talked on the phone because it was early in the COVID era. And then I've been on your show twice already.
Yeah.
Stay Home Instead, just like it says on your shirt. And that was just like this, using Zoom. And
People are
then
gonna be like, do these guys talk to anybody else, or do they just talk to each other all the time?
well, it's so much fun. I mean, why not? Why not? Right?
Yeah.
Right. But the coolest thing is that being on your show gave me the courage to make the jump from radio to YouTube. And it is so much more fun. That's what I tell everybody. It is so much more fun than being in the radio studio and having commercial breaks and having to do station identification. It's so much fun. I really love it.
You're free. You're a free bird. You're flying out to YouTube land, doing your show. I'm happy to be part of that.
It's a little bit dangerous. It's a little bit dangerous to cut me loose on YouTube. So before we started, we were talking about this fundraiser that you're going to be doing.
It's for the Alzheimer's Association, raising funds to contribute to the fundraising around the Walk to End Alzheimer's. So a lot of nonprofits are, that do fundraisers like special walks and things like that. They're not really doing that because they can't gather together for those things during COVID. And so the Walk to End Alzheimer's is still happening. It's going to be on October 3rd this year, but it's happening everywhere. People are going to be able to log on and walk from wherever they're at and, walk in memory of their loved ones who are either living with Alzheimer's or who had lived with Alzheimer's and since passed. They're going to be able to raise awareness, utilizing social media and things like that. There's a lot of things planned around that. But we've been at Home Instead, we've been part of the committee that organizes those walks year after year for so many years. I've been with the company around 10 years now, and every year that I've been with the company, we've been doing this. And but a special fundraiser we're we're doing something that's a little groundbreaking, which is not out of the norm. A lot of people are doing groundbreaking things right now.
People are getting very creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a silver lining of this whole era. And so one of
Look
the
at that. We're starting to call it an era because it's going on so long.
Yeah.
It's like, it is an era.
Absolutely. And so we're doing an online event that is a variety show. We're calling it the End Alzheimer's New Mexico Variety Show. And depending upon when this show comes out, hopefully folks will have time to log on and check it out. It's going to be on Thursday, September 24th in the evening at 7 p.m. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. There's going to be comedy, music, dance performance. I've taken a lot of this of the compilation of the event onto my own plate, and I'm having all sorts of fun going around and filming, social distancing, of course, but filming flamenco dancers and hula dancers and comedians, and just it's going to be a really special thing. I hope that a lot of people are able to log on. We can raise some awareness around Alzheimer's and dementia, how it affects New Mexicans in particular, and hopefully raise some money, because the Alzheimer's Association is the third largest contributor to research to end Alzheimer's in the world, and they're only third in reference to the United States government and the Chinese government. Beyond that, it's the Alzheimer's Association that contributes the most funds toward research in the world. And so we need to continue to support that if we want to see headway made in the area of Alzheimer's research.
Yeah. So who knew there were hula dancers in Santa Fe?
I've known for several years. That goes way back to me, because it's not because of hula dancing being a specific passion of mine. I mean, I enjoy it as much as anybody, but it goes back to my years spent in ministry, being a pastor at a church here in town. I knew of this group that of lovely ladies that do hula dancing as a ministry. They'll take the dancing to hospitals and all sorts of out of the box places, and it's very, very cool. Like the music that they dance to and how they do it, I can see how it could be really therapeutic and really helpful for people.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. Well, and flamenco is classic Santa Fe deal. What you said, comedians? How many acts have you got?
I think, well, so the show's only an hour long, and I think we're cramming probably like 7 acts during that hour, and then there's going to be lots of information for people around Alzheimer's and dementia. We're not going to overload it with that. We're going to try and keep it light. But so there'll be lots of opportunities for people to chime in and donate if they're able to do that. Beyond that, there's also going to be a special tribute that I'm involved with. Well, I'm involved with a lot of it, but like there's one of the musical projects that I've been part of since way back in the early 2000s. We are taking a cover version that we did of a song from one of the bands that we're really influenced by, and it's a really great song that fits well with a tribute that we're going to be doing, where we're going to be taking pictures and video of people and their loved ones who are living with the effects of Alzheimer's, and we're going to put that into the music video as a special tribute. And so I'm excited about seeing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like 7 acts, it's an hour long. And where is it? How do people plug in?
People are it's going to be on the main page of the Santa Fe, New Mexican website. So that's one place that they're going to be able to see it. They'll also be able to see it shared to social media resources like pages like Home Instead's page. I guess the best way to, if you search Home Instead Santa Fe on like Facebook or whatever, you'll see in our recent posts that we've shared the event. You can click reminders on Eventbrite. We're going to be getting the word out really heavily over the next week to 2 weeks before the event. So I think that it'll be hard probably for folks to not see it if they're interested. But if they search,
well, I'm thinking this is like next week.
It is, right? Yeah, it is. Don't remind
me. Already.
That's stressing.
Whoops. Sorry. I mean, yeah, when you said the date, I started doing some math here in my head, and this is like next week. And then September's over.
Right?
Stop it.
Goodness.
Stop it.
Wow.
I don't know what's happening here. So you're actually part of one of the acts.
I am. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, one of my old the style of music we used to play, and it's kind of like we haven't done a lot with this act since the early 2000s. And it's like my old punk pop roots, where it was
punk.
Yeah, but
punk and pop. Okay.
It's like the song that we're doing for this is more acoustic flavor, and it's something that we recorded during this COVID era. We recorded it, all separate in our homes. Our bass players in Las Vegas, Nevada, guitar player and drummer live in Albuquerque. I'm up here in Santa Fe. We all recorded our individual parts and did the video to it, and then I just put it all together. So we weren't even in the same room at any point.
That is so cool. I have been so just like my mind blown by these music videos that I see where people are everywhere and they bring all the voices together. It's just it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful.
I think that we as human beings, like, I mean, of course, connection to one another is something that I was gonna go real deep there, but like connection to one another is something that's always there. But we crave feeling it. We crave experiencing it. And during times like these, it's very, very cool, like you're saying, to see the creative nature of people thinking outside of the box and using the technology that's at our disposal to create that feeling of connection.
Yeah.
Because like if we didn't have, I think if we didn't have this technology that we have, we probably would be figuring out different things. If it was in the early 2000s or the late 90s that we were experiencing this, it would be different. There would probably be, news stories of people gathering together or, on different sides of the street and talking to each other or something. But instead we have this technology where we can see each other and we can visit. And
yeah, it's really saved our lives, I think.
And you're also uniquely in touch with that, I think, because of your occupation and your understanding of how we process things emotionally and how that affects us.
And my work would not have been possible to continue through this time without the technology.
Or at least would have been significantly hindered, right? I mean, like if you were over the phone, you'd be able to have conversations with people, but how much more valuable is it to see their facial expressions?
Well, and in fact, I have several clients that I do, we are on the phone. It's really up to them. I don't know if I said it to you or not, but I often say, people who are tuning into this show every time are going to hear me say this more than once, that BC, I would have said to you, no, I'm not doing therapy that way. No, I'm an in-person person. Mm-hmm. And I am. But this era has enlarged my vision of what therapy can be exponentially. We can do Zoom, we can do a phone call, we can text, man, whatever you got, whatever makes you feel safe. That's how we're going to roll, because that's really what therapy is about. is safety. And I, in fact, have clients that I highly suspect will not return to the office anytime in the foreseeable future, if at all. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to do my work that virtually forever or completely that way. But I know what is possible now.
Yeah.
And that's really
Safety.
grown my.
I'm sorry.
No,
You
no,
know
no.
what's possible now. Like, I mean, safety is one thing you mentioned, but then I also think just convenience too. I think that there's several different types of interactions with people that are going to continue to utilize this video platform just because of convenience. Like, if I need to meet with you for whatever reason, and driving across town doesn't look like it's going to work that day, let's just hop on Zoom.
Right, exactly.
Whereas before this old COVID era, it'd have been like, you want to do a FaceTime instead of getting together? That's kind of weird.
We live in the same town. What's up?
Exactly. But it's just, I mean, it is very easy. Like, how quick, like, I mean, obviously it could be unhealthy if you're just trying to see how many meetings you can possibly have in a day. But I mean, you could definitely make it to more places a lot quicker if you're doing it this way.
Right. Now the sort of shadow side of it is I don't feel like I'm missing anything, but I don't do extracurricular stuff on Zoom. Like, very little of that. Very little. I kind of know my level of tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in going to any more like meetings than I have to on Zoom or whatever you want to call it. My little helper here. And I don't want to get my entertainment that way either. So I don't go to church online. I don't. I don't. And I'm good with that. So what I'm trying to say, I think, is that I most of the media time is reserved for my clients and my really, really close relationships. And after that, that's it.
Yeah. There's a certain type of fatigue that we're kind of running into as a culture. You're hearing a lot of people talk about that comes from, I think, the overload of looking at a screen and trying to interact with people that way. But it's also, that's probably just a hurdle that, or a growing pain, maybe you could call it. Like, I think that it's something that, depending upon, for some people, this is going to be the safest way to interact for a while.
Right.
Like, it's already been a while, but
it is an era after all.
Yeah. Like,
you said just
go ahead.
No, you said earlier when you started down this trail, you said you stopped and you said, "Oh, I was going to go really deep there." I want to know where you were going.
Oh, I kind of ended up.
It's always interesting to me.
I ended up saying it. Like, it was just that, like, it was one, very small comment, but that it was like that I feel in a deep way, that, like, I was talking about us craving connection with one another, but I feel like, we're craving something that's already there. Like, we're never without connection. I think that we can tell ourselves a story, that we're not connected to everything that we need, but I think that, I think I'm going really deep. It's all one thing, it's all one thing that's happening here, and I think that to feel disconnected is the illusion.
Wow, I think you have to say more about that.
Well, I mean, asking me to say more about that could be asking me to say a bunch of things that are not going to really make sense to most people other than me. But um, I guess that's probably come of the realizations that are brought about by taking time for real introspection. And when you start to see that so many of the things in our lives that are perceived by us to be our greatest problems have to do with with thoughts and storylines that are complete fabrications that don't really have much root in reality. I could, and so much of our lives, I think, are caught up in those narratives that we have in our mind, that we haven't, that at times, we haven't developed the mental muscle or the habitual ability to be introspective and see what's really going on rather than just be caught up in it. I think seeing what's going on and being caught up in what's going on in our lives are two dramatically different things. And I think that, loneliness and disconnection and those types of things, I mean, there's tangible, there's real, there's, what am I trying to say here? There are certainly real aspects to loneliness. Someone who's alone all the time starts to feel the effects of being alone. But I do feel that the way in which we process those experiences in our minds has a lot more to do with it's a see I'm starting to even confuse myself, but but I just think our circumstances themselves really don't warrant the desperation that we oftentimes feel over them. I think
well, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. If that made sense to anybody, if it didn't make sense to anybody, it's completely fine with me. Like it's totally.
No, I'm hearing you, and a lot of the work that I do is about encouraging people to explore the idea of being their own best friend. Because that's where, I mean, that's the first connection, is to ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we feel disconnected from ourselves, well, that's the place where we can begin to work. That's one place we can begin to work.
I think, it has to start there, right? Because how we relate to ourselves is so intertwined with how we relate to other people. Like everything about how you relate to another person has everything to do with how you relate to yourself. If you are a harsh person with yourself, don't be surprised that you're harsh with other people. And like everything that we see in other people is interpreted by what we've experienced within ourselves.
Right.
It's all part of it. Yeah. Like, I think that, the things that we struggle the most with in other people are the things that we're hardest on ourselves about. And when we start to, if we can work towards being our own best friend, like, I think that, working toward being our own best friend has a lot to do with forgiving ourselves, being patient with ourselves and loving ourselves. And then what inevitably starts to happen is that you start being patient with other people, and you
Right.
start being
It
more
just
forgiving with
comes
other
back
people,
out.
and you start
It
loving
comes
other
back out.
people more.
Right.
But I do feel like that.
Self-compassion is a big one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm
Absolutely.
sorry. What were you going to say?
No,
What were
that
you
was
saying?
that was a very valuable point. You got to give it time to breathe. But I was just going to say that I think the work of introspection, whether it comes, like, I mean, the practice that I know of would be meditation, mindfulness meditation, to actually to take a few minutes a day. I've fallen off the wagon recently, so I mean, I need to practice more consistently. Not because I'm not chastising myself. I need to practice more consistently just to practice.
Okay.
Because of the
That
sheer benefit of it.
chastising part says that's not allowed.
Yeah,
That's not allowed on
just
MG
because
Radio.
just the sheer benefit, for the sheer benefit of being able to see what's going on inside of me rather than be caught up in it and owned by it. It's
Mhm.
it's dramatic. It's a superpower when you stumble upon it for the first time, that you realize that emotions arise, but you need not be owned by them. And
Well said.
yeah,
Well said. Yes.
but the first time,
And
it doesn't make sense until you experience it. I think that
mhm.
that's I think that you need to take a step of faith a bit, to try and develop a practice that would help you to experience that type of thing, and then
Mhm.
you'll understand the value of it. Like, because it wasn't until I spent a good amount of time, it took me a long time, which probably means I'm just not that great of a meditator, like, and naturally, I don't know if anybody is or not.
No, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say that at all.
But my experience, though, was that it took me quite a while of, you know initially, like, sitting to meditate and taking 5 minutes, taking 10 minutes, just to sit and watch my breath, and begin to see how my distractions come and how I get carried away from what I'm focusing on, and then recognize that, and not judging it, not judging myself that I got distracted
Mhm.
from what I was doing, but then just
Mhm.
returning back to the breath. As boring as that sounds, as weird as it might sound to some, it's just so valuable, because every time you recognize that you get distracted, and then you see it, because you have that task that you're trying to do. I'm trying to pay attention to my breath for 5 minutes. I'm just going to watch it go in and watch it go out and watch it go in. And then now I'm thinking about what's for lunch. And then now I'm thinking about that thing with my kid. And now I'm thinking about all the emails I need to send later. And now I'm thinking about, my childhood and how crazy it was. And then now I'm thinking about, like, it just goes all over the place,
Right.
and
Right.
the amazing thing that happens is you begin to actually notice how that is going on all day long.
Mhm.
Those
Mhm.
thoughts are just carrying you from place to place all day long. And then every time you recognize what's happening and you go back to that thing, that simple practice of watching the breath, it's like you're doing a mental push-up, and then you're actually
Mhm.
getting stronger at your ability to see how your mind gets carried away. And then
Right. Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
after a while, like, I remember, after doing that for a while, I would, because my temper can flare up, pretty bad sometimes, and I can react to situations pretty dramatically, like, just be really thrown off. And that would happen, like, my kiddo would do something and it would freak me out, and I'd be like, hey, wait. And then I just, like, kind of watch it fall off.
Mhm.
Like, there's something that happens, like, with emotions that arise, even powerful ones like anger, or anxiety, or um emotions. I have a
Right.
hard time thinking of,
Right.
but
The bajillion of them. Mhm.
yeah, and when they arise, they you can't stay angry unless you work at it. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't actually stay angry unless you continually manufacture and relive that thought about that thing that that person did to you that is making you angry. And you're rehashing and rehashing and rehashing. That's what you have to do to stay angry. And you don't realize that until you see that, you know, if you just kind of let the thought go and it goes to wherever it goes,
Right,
you don't
right,
have to be angry
right.
anymore.
So I have a premise that I invite my clients to do, is because the idea of meditation is even 5 minutes sometimes can seem too big and too overwhelming. And so the idea that I offer is that if at any point in your day you can give yourself, if you can pause, just a pause, just a moment is a start, and it's
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah.
Because if you pause, you're not running on remote control, right? And so if you just pause, it's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like just like, you know, when you're walking from your car to your office, if you can remember even once a day just to feel how the bottom of your feet feel.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, how they feel on the ground,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But any moment of a pause can get you out of your head and into your body. And if you start giving yourself those opportunities, it will it will it'll happen more. It'll happen more, and you'll build your muscle, like you're saying. But it's one of those things about which I say any is good.
Mm-hmm.
Any is good.
Yep.
Anytime you can give yourself the opportunity to pause. And so I say that to you because you're saying that you haven't been meditating like you would like to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I would expect you are pausing because you already have that muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, it's something I'm super, you know, passionate about, but it's funny how sometimes the things that we're really passionate about can also be things that we can procrastinate about.
Oh, find the most reasons to resist. I
Yeah.
am
Weird.
totally with you on that. Totally with you on that. Yeah.
But I love, you know, when that muscle, you know, in the times in my life when that muscle has been the strongest have certainly been the most healthy times in my life,
Mm.
where I'm probably much more pleasant to be around for others, and I'm certainly much more pleasant to be around for myself, and I'm always around
Mm.
myself. So the more I can make that happen, the better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and so it's an essential I said it earlier, but I want to reemphasize that is essential component of being your own best friend is that self-compassion
Mm-hmm.
and kindness. I also say that to my clients, you know, find it if you can find a way to be kind to yourself
Yeah.
this week. That would be really great. That would be so great. We don't say should and we don't say ought.
Yeah,
It
that's
would
good.
just be really good. It would just be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, even talking about these things, I think is so helpful for me because um, there's a certain there's a certain aspect to having conversations around what it is to observe our thoughts and our lives from a vantage point of not judging, of just being open to what's happening, and you know, also being open to see what we're adding to what's happening that's not necessary and not helpful and not real. You know, like like revisiting those concepts, having experienced those things at different times, I could just talk about this stuff forever, because like as I'm talking about it, I'm living it. Like it's like when the thoughts are coming through and coming out of my mouth and being expressed, I am, reacquainting myself with the, like it's an exercise in and of itself, I think. Like
Yeah.
I was really never, and I feel like there's so much more that I can accomplish on this front, of being connected to my body and like my lived experience in this world in a tangible sense, rather than in a conceptual sense alone. But but a few years ago, I remember earlier on in the practice of trying to do these things, that I realized I was so disconnected from my body, like so disconnected. Like I remember sitting in this very room in a chair in here, meditating, and I feel like it's the first time I've felt my lips touching one another. Like it was that dramatic. It was like, I feel like it's the first time I felt my feet on the floor, like
yeah.
I was so in my head when it came to how I was relating to my life, that I don't know if I was really living it.
Wow. That's a whew, that's a But we're living it as best we know. And when you look back, you can see a real difference between then and now. Right?
You mean like when I look back to like at that point, or
when you look, yeah, if you look back, like if I look back a certain distance, I don't even recognize that person.
yeah.
If I look back at myself, I don't even recognize that person.
Yeah. I've had that experience too, where it seems like, there is like a narrative that we carry of our lives, of that includes the whole span as best we can grasp it at this point. But it does certainly feel like, like I drive by like a place that I used to live 20 years ago, or I I drive by my elementary school, or something like that, or I think of a time where I was in a different career, and it definitely has, like my lived experience is almost as if that was a different person or a different lifetime, like it was. But I don't know if that has to do with rejecting things or eras of my past, or if it just has to do with being in touch with the fact that impermanence is real. That's our lived experience. And yesterday is as dead and gone as Abraham Lincoln. It is gone. The only thing that's happening right now is now. And like, and not, I think that like sometimes thinking about that concept can be uncomfortable for people, because we have this desire, for whatever reason, to hold on to pieces of our lives. And that's an impossible task. And so it definitely flies in the face of that desire when it comes to holding on to pieces of eras of our lives as though we can carry them with us in some way, because we can't. Like all we can ever have and experience is what's happening right now. And I think that getting in touch with that to a place where you can experience the beauty of it, the beauty of the change, the beauty of the evolution, the beauty of the impermanence of our experience, and accept that, like, it's very freeing. I think that, like, to the degree that we can grasp and accept that experience in our lives is the degree to which we can experience dramatic freedom and really not be attached to things that we're never going to be able to hold on to anyway.
Wow. Well, I think it also has to do with growth. So, and with that peeling off of the layers of the things that we have, the armor that we have put on from a very early time in order to survive in the world in which we grew up in. And so as we're able to partake of this introspection, to grow, find ways to grow, I feel like that we're growing into that person that we always have been, but that we had to protect for whatever reason. And there's so many reasons, traumas and difficulties that cause us to put on those armors to survive in the world. And as we're able to peel them off, we get to see that person that was originally meant to be fully ourselves. And I think that whatever tradition, religious tradition, person is has, I think you can still resonate to the idea that a person fully alive, the glory of God is a person fully alive. And to be fully alive is to find the fullest expression of yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So when you look back and like, I don't know who that person is, well, let me introduce you to Ken.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
So you wanted to go deep, and we did. We went deep.
Right. This is great conversation. Yeah. You feel like that's enough deep conversation for today? I don't even know what time it is.
It's about 12:30. I feel great. I think
like
that
this is good.
Yeah, we touched on some really cool stuff. I feel like I mean, that's right in the sweet spot, for your I really like your this is the type of conversation that needs to be had on your platform. I think that, like, that's what it's for, and it just happened organically. I didn't know what we were going to talk about today, so
right. I love it like that. I love the organicness of it, the imperfection of it. Yeah, it's so great. Thanks for joining us on MJ Radio. We'll see you next time.